Hi, I'm Durk Dehner, and here we are with an artist residency exit interview with Carta Monir. Is that correct?
Carta Monir.
Monir. I like the way you say that.
Thank you.
So, you've been here quite how long?
3 and a bit months.
Yeah.
Yeah, since October 1st.
You know, I didn't know you when you first came last year or 2 years ago.
Mhm.
You were fixing our toilets and putting
Bidet attachments.
Yes.
Yeah.
and then I talked to you a little bit, and we and you got a piece of Tom Finland clothing. I think it was a jacket, right? A blue jean jacket.
That's right.
And you were very excited and enthusiastic about that. And so then things just fell into place, and you were chosen to be an artist in resident here. And were you surprised?
I wasn't expecting it, you know. I knew that it's very competitive, and I knew that there were a lot of good artists in the queue, and I also knew that because of the pandemic,
Yeah.
you know, there were people
We were behind.
there were people who had already been promised
Yeah.
spots. So initially I was waitlisted, and I expected that to mean, maybe in the next few years. And then when I got the call about it, you know, that it would actually happen this year, I was very pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, you had actually a lot of fans, and so they actually, I didn't really know you very well, but other people here who I interviewed really spoke so highly of you, and really felt that you would it would be so great for you to be here. And so how has it been?
It's been good. I mean, my time here has been pretty different than I expected, just on like personal levels, and I didn't know what to expect so much coming in, you know, like I didn't expect that my focus here would be so much on performance coming in, and I certainly didn't expect to be paired with Oat, the other artist in residence, who was just the most pleasant surprise. My time here has been wonderful. I'm sad to be leaving. I love living in this house.
You do?
And I love having access to these archives and library and materials, and just the environment of it. Like, it's a really special place, and I'm grateful to be here.
You certainly share it with, you're very good about bringing people and sharing it with others.
Yeah, I really like sharing it. I mean, when I first came here, I fell in love with it. I took a tour in probably late 2018, and just immediately became fixated on the idea of doing an artist residency here and getting to spend proper time here. And I love seeing other people sort of light up when they're introduced to it, because it's hard to know, you know, an erotic art museum could be so many different things.
Yes.
And there's really...
And the Tom Finland Erotic Art Museum could be, definitely, people have ideas of what that would be.
Yeah, you know, when I first came for my tour, I was, you know, I didn't know what to expect. I thought it might be very, like, masculine only, sort of like,
Right.
you know, like, not hostile, but like pretty disinterested in what I was doing and
Right.
like what my friends were doing. And instead I found it a very welcoming and inclusive and, you know, exciting place, a very living place. And it's fun for me to share that with people and to show them, you know,
Yes.
that it's a...
So you get to actually sort of giggle in a way, in that you get to bring people who have ideas of what it might be like, and then they have an experience of what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you actually did a performance piece. Do you call it that?
I would. I would.
And it was, how would you describe it?
I would call it a pain performance or like a masochistic performance. I did it with my friend Mistress Odette, who is a medical fetish dominatrix based out of Austin, and she just inflicted pain on me in front of an audience. It was my first time doing that kind of performance for a proper audience. Previously I had only done this sort of thing for a camera or in private, in my own private sex life. So it was a real learning experience on several different levels. That was early November.
We'll show a little bit of that as
Great.
Through our conversation. And so something happened. You passed out.
I did pass out, and I was frustrated by it. I still am. That I passed out not from pain or for any cool reason, but just from a physical limitation.
Yeah.
My arms were over my head.
And that's actually not uncommon.
That's what I've heard since
Yeah.
then. Yeah, I was so positive going into it that if my arms weren't extended, if they were resting on I had sort of a pillow set up, that they would be fine. And then, maybe 45 minutes into the performance, I started feeling quite faint, and I was able to signal to my top, and she was in the process of cutting my arms down when I passed out, so, harm was avoided. And thankfully, we were able to then sort of recuperate and continue the performance in a modified form with me sitting down.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, it was a learning experience. There were a lot of things that now I know I would do slightly differently the next time I do something like this.
It being a masochistic performance piece is that something that you actually focus on?
Yeah, coming to pain and pain performance and taking pain for pleasure is something that's relatively new to me.
So you do have the experience of endorphins hitting?
Yeah, I find it very actively pleasurable in a way that's hard to describe. There absolutely is the moment when I'm taking pain and I have the kind of what am I doing, feeling. I think that probably happens to everyone. But also there's a real satisfaction that I take out of the endurance aspect of it and the challenge of it. I also find it very genuinely pleasurable, the attention of a sadistic top, the feeling that I am doing it for somebody that I care about.
That you're giving them pleasure?
That I'm giving them pleasure, yeah, exactly.
And so, if you look at your whole time here, is there a thread that goes through it, a common thread?
I would say so. I would say that all of my work here and outside of here is about exploring personal vulnerability and stripping away the layers of artifice or of trying to be as genuine as possible, trying to be as naked as possible, metaphorically and literally. And I feel like pain and performing pain has given me a way to connect with an audience on a deeply genuine level that I feel doesn't have any kind of mediation. When I'm taking pain, when I'm in, those situations, I'm not able to think about how I look or about angling myself towards the light or to phrase things in the right way. Instead,
It's very bare.
Yeah, I'm just very genuinely experiencing something and giving that experience to my audience. And that feels very powerful to me, and I'm glad that I've been able to explore it a little.
So, is your performance and your connection to what you do, is it related to your past?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, in a lot of different ways. As you know, my day job is making hardcore porn as an actress, so that already has a degree of performance and vulnerability, but also a lot of artifice. When it comes to pain specifically, I deal with disability, an invisible disability, that makes it very easy for me to sprain and otherwise hurt myself, and inflicts a lot of involuntary pain. So choosing voluntary pain feels like a way of reclaiming that to some degree. Also, like, as a child of like abuse and incest, like, I feel that I was very much raised to endure pain, and being able to choose and again reclaim the ways that I take pain is a very powerful thing.
So, what you're talking about could, in fact, be a lightning rod for a lot of people who might be watching. And so, in regards to being abused and incest within your family, when did you sort of find your way in regards to how to deal with that, so that you wouldn't be damaged, or are you damaged?
I would absolutely say I'm damaged, but I don't know, like when I was younger, my primary coping strategy was being good at talking and being a mediator. And that is something that, you know, like obviously I'm still good at talking. I think a lot of the work I've had to do as an adult is around not managing people and situations. And pain, again, really helps me cut to the heart of things. Instead of like sort of dancing around them, trying to shape things in the way that I'd like them to be without the other person even realizing. Through taking pain, I feel like I'm engaging in like a very direct, like, give and take with somebody.
By choosing it.
By choosing it, right. I don't know, it removes like that level of managing or whatever, that it feels more honest and more direct and, you know, cathartic.
So, you're going to do another performance piece.
Yes.
And we're going to show a little bit of that while we're talking about it.
Sure.
And would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, so this one is going to be a little different than my last one. My last one I feel was very focused because it was just me taking pain, you know, in one place. This one is split into sort of three major sections. First, I'll be doing a reading from some of the writing I've been doing here.
So, let's just stop there for a moment. How much writing do you actually do? Give us a sense of your...
A fair amount. I mean, writing is hard for me. I have a difficult time sitting down and writing. I've always had a hard time with it, even though I primarily consider myself a writer.
Yeah.
It's always, you know, a torturous process. But
would you have it in any other way?
I mean, I'd love to be able to focus on it more without, you know, needing to be exhausted or depressed, you know, first. But yeah, I've done a fair amount of writing here. I'm working on like a longer book that's like a full sort of like sexual history of myself.
Can I just say for one moment, you are rather sort of an interesting exception to the rule in that you were a male and then you became a female. And is that how you see yourself?
Yeah, I would say, I don't think it's wrong to say that I lived as a man for a long time.
And you were married to a woman.
Yes, I was married to someone who presented as a woman.
Yes.
And then we switched after we got married.
And did you know before you switched?
No.
Neither one?
Neither one of us.
So just in that, I think you're rather exceptional in that I don't think that's very common.
No, I mean, I feel very fortunate in it. And I think it's a big reason why my spouse and I found each other is, you know, we knew that we had a lot in common and we just didn't understand quite how much.
I like the part about the rings. Why don't you show
Oh
me?
yeah, we switched wedding rings. So the ring that I'm currently wearing is the one that I put on his finger initially, and when we both came out, we got them resized and switched them, and yeah, I think it's really sweet.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really exceptional.
Yeah.
So, what's going on here?
So, in my performance, the first part is going to be a reading. The second part, I'm going to be electroshocked, either using this machine or a similar one.
And where did this machine come from?
This is a 1970s behavioral correction conversion therapy machine. It was
Used for.
specifically for quote unquote treating gay people, and with the intention of turning them straight through conditioning. Obviously, that doesn't work. It's a torture machine. I bought it with Mistress Odette and had a friend of mine replace the internal components so that I could be sure it wouldn't kill me when I used it. And it's my intent to use it in various pain performances.
Where do you actually attach it? On your
There's
body.
there's a plug in the back, and then it goes to little pads, and they can be attached to this machine's instruction manual said the extremities, so like both on one wrist
Mm-hmm.
or on an ankle.
Mm-hmm.
But the general rule with a machine like this is just not to let the current cross your heart. So it could very easily be on either side of the genitals, on either side of the neck, that kind of thing too.
So, so you're going to appropriate it
Yes.
and use it for your purposes.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, I wanted to actually talk about this yellow. What is this yellow?
Oh, this is a livestock tag. During my first performance, I did a couple of, elements that were related to livestock. I got some livestock tattoos, like brands, strike branding on my legs.
So tell our viewers a little bit about what that is.
So if you are a farmer and you want to mark a bunch of pigs all with the same thing, it's not like quick or humane to brand all of them. Instead, you use a device that's shaped kind of like a hatchet, and it has interchangeable characters made out of needles, basically. You can dip it in tattoo ink and quickly hit an animal with it, and it leaves basically a stick and poke tattoo impression. And
So the letters are spelled out.
Right. So on my right leg, I got the word pain. On my left leg, I got the word please repeat it. So please, please, please. And I also got a livestock tag like this pierced into my right ear. And this isn't the same one that got pierced into my ear. It's one from the same pack, but I held on to it.
Maybe that's something you should leave.
I would leave it. I mean, I want to leave something maybe more parsable.
Yes. But you know where I thought it might look great is in the cabinet in the gift shop.
I love that idea. I would love to.
So I said, why these dying flowers? Can you explain?
My spouse sent those to me.
Uh-huh.
A beautiful, it was not a dead bouquet when it arrived, but a beautiful bouquet, and it was right when I got the flu when I was very sick.
Oh,
also
and you were so sick.
very depressed.
Yeah.
So I've just held on to it because I thought it was so sweet, and also I quite like how they look even now that they're dead.
Can you share your spouse's name?
Yeah, my spouse is named EJ. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that makes a whole world of difference now that I know the story behind it. So, in regards to depression, and is depression something that you have you deal with regularly?
I would say so.
Yeah.
On and off.
And you've been able to use it as a tool.
Yeah, I would also say
I
so.
don't think very many people do that.
I don't know. It's for me it always makes me want to push myself to be understood better, which is a good motivator for art. And
Were you artistic right from the get-go?
Yes, I've always been very artistic. I really liked drawing, especially when I was younger, but as I've gotten a little older, writing, I think, has taken over as like a more direct medium. And performance I see as like an extension of my writing. More
So
than anything.
if people wanted to access your writing, how would they do it?
I have examples of it on cartamonir.com. I also have published a few like short zines, and the book I'm working on right now will be eventually put into print, although I don't know when. I need to finish it first.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if they go to cartamonir.com, they can see it there.
And, you know, do you feel like you are still blossoming?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I feel I'm new to all this stuff still. You know, I came out as a woman in 2016. I opened my relationship with my spouse in early 2019. And I only came into the, kink and leather community maybe in 2020.
So that's right at the time of COVID.
Right. So, I mean, and with masochism, it feels, at least explicit masochism, it feels even more recent. So there's still so much that I haven't dug into or experienced, and I feel like I'm only at the beginning of things.
And what would you like to communicate to the world as far as about what is important to you?
I think it's important that...
And this is your camera.
This one?
Yeah,
Or
both of them.
both of them?
But it would be good for you to look at them.
Okay. It's really important for artists to be given opportunities to make alienating work and explicit work. That's something that I love about this space, is that none of the editorial feedback I get is ever to tone something down or to sanitize it or make it respectable in some way. And spaces like this that house complicated, messy, like disgusting work are so important. It has been very important for me and helped me grow as an artist a lot to be able to look through the archives here and just be immersed in work made by people who are extremely earnest in what they're pursuing and not thinking specifically about what other people will think of them. And I think that's a very valuable thing as an artist, and an erotic artist especially.
Good. So I just want to say that your exit piece involves a confessional booth, and that connects with you because of your past history is with the Baha'i
Yeah.
faith.
Yeah. I was
I
raised
don't think
Baha'i.
very many people know the Baha'i faith.
It's not a super big religion. It doesn't really have anything to do specifically with confessionals. That's more sort of a general placeholder for religiousness, I guess. But yeah, I was raised very Baha'i, and really tortured myself with it for a very long time. And
Tortured about being who you are.
Yeah, about being, a gay person and a trans person and even just like a sexual person. And the confessional booth glory hole that I've constructed is an element of the final performance. When I'm doing my reading, specifically, I'm going to have footage of myself being fucked in it, projected into it, and it feels like a really straightforward metaphor for some of the ways that I'm now grappling with my past religiousness, and also willing to get into subjects that are explicitly at odds with religious teaching.
Yes. You know, being queer,
Mm-hmm.
we haven't really been welcomed to the table very much.
Right.
And I actually have been realizing that we're a very spiritual people as as it is, and my experience is that we actually embrace it,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't necessarily believe it.
Yeah.
And we experience it, but we don't actually. Whether we're of faith, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that queer people tend to be holistic, and spirituality is just an integrated part of that whole thing.
I think that's commonly true. I mean, I think being queer means a level of self-examination that lends people to a type of spirituality, like frequently.
Yeah.
And like also like a willingness to accept like a complexity that leads them to like maybe more agnostic or less organized
Right.
belief systems. Yeah.
I know that individuals who are watching this, and they are examining you, looking at you, viewing you, and that you're a trans person, what would you like to say to the world as far as understanding, as far as the understanding of who we are?
Of transness specifically,
Well,
or queerness in general.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, especially in relation to what I said earlier and me being here at the Tom of Finland Foundation, it's important that queer people, and especially trans people, have the room to be fucking disgusting and extremely sexual and straightforward in their desires and lusts, and that pushes towards respectability only harm us, and that it is extremely important that like our love for one another and the ways that we love not be flattened and homogenized or equated to straight, sexualities, because it doesn't feel like there's any comparison. Let trans people be gross. That's my
so
Yeah.
I have a saying: get in touch with what your desires and your urges and your cravings are, and if you follow them, you will in fact unfold and be in harmony with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that is in many ways what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that you don't put right and wrong, good and bad. They're not even part of the equation.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to. It's it's hard to unlearn like the moralizing stuff, but
The more you give others permission
exactly.
to be any way they want to,
Right.
I think it helps with our own selves.
I think so too. And I've definitely moved finally past the point of saying that like there are things that I absolutely would never do, because the more that I experience, the more I realize that if I set a limit like that for myself, I'm inevitably going to cross it
Yes.
quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so-
why put that kind of
Right.
restriction on yourself?
Right.
And it's surprising the road that you lead, that you walk, and the things that happen as you go down that road.
Mhm.
There are experiences I have had that I thought I would never experience, and but then this is about you, but it's really about, I guess what I'm trying to do is to give you permission, to just let it rip, let it wide open, and because there's so many people right now who are actually identifying as trans or intersex or some variation of, and that I'm wondering how this all came to be so at this time. And do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think now that mass culture has the language and the tools to talk about gender identity in like more nuanced ways. People are able to see themselves, you know, in more nuanced ways. When I was growing up, I grew up in the Midwest in like a not big town, and my only exposure to transness, even conceptually, was like, I don't know, Ace Ventura movies, or you know, I've told this story before, but I remember my mother describing trans people to me as men who are so gay that they dress as women to trick other men into sleeping with them. And, you know, hearing that as a kid, I was horrified. Like, who would do that? You know, that I would never do that. So I think that the shift that's happened where the language is more mainstream now.
Yeah.
Even if people are hearing about it on conservative talk radio, if they're hearing about, you know, non-binary pronouns or puberty blockers or whatever, they have this language and it's introducing even the ability to talk and think about it.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a bloom in people feeling like they can talk about it because it's not so black and white or, you know, impossible feeling. You know, people have the language now.
Do you feel a sense of, this is sort of, do you feel a responsibility to communicate about it? Or
to some degree. I mean, I'm not like a 101 person. Like, I'll talk to individuals. I feel very comfortable with that. But I'm not like the type of person who wants to devote my life to, you know, like having the same kind of basic conversation over and over. I think I'm more interested in complicating people's views of transness and adding a nuance to it. You know, like I am a trans woman who also feels extremely at home in like gay men's community. Obviously, I'm here, you know, like it's if I had a problem with being surrounded by a lot of dicks and dick art, you know, like that would be, I wouldn't be here.
right.
So like,
What does your t-shirt say?
my t-shirt says, enjoy my cock. It's the real thing.
Have you worn that out?
I have, yeah. I love this shirt.
You have a cock.
I do have a cock. Yeah, I have a cock, a lucrative cock.
You use it.
I do. It's my day job is to use it. Yeah, it's, you know, it's complicated.
You like that.
I do.
Yeah.
You know, my approach to transness is not for everyone, and other people's approach to transness isn't necessarily for me. And like, I think that's good. That's how it should be.
Anything else you want to share before we close?
I think just, and I mean, I imagine Oates said something similar, but it is really heartening to me that the Tom of Finland Foundation allowed me to be here and embraced me and
celebrated.
and celebrated me and that
And,
the oh sorry
and does.
yeah
celebrate
yeah
it.
and that the mission of the foundation is not only backwards looking but also very forwards looking in its empowerment and promotion of erotic artists, and that it's not limited to only, you know, the people who appear in Tom's comics and Tom's works, that it, you know, has branched out. Oat being an extremely femme East Asian drag queen, and then me being a brown trans woman, like
Yeah.
that feels significant, and I feel really grateful to be here at this moment in history and to you know, help, as I said, like complicate things around here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make it more complicated.
Yeah.
Good. And well, thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
It has been for us a joy, and you have contributed in ways that actually, whether you are depressed, I must say you have a hell of a laugh.
Thank you, Durk. I appreciate that.
Okay.